Hello. Next thing we're going to try and do is I've still got TinkerCAD running in the background, but I've opened the email that I've sent so that you can see here, this is the tool that we're going to be drawing, which will give us a nice simple shape to start creating, and it's called a spanner, or sometimes you'll hear it being called a wrench. And the spanner is going to be broken down into three main parts that we're going to draw: the jaw, the handle, and the ring. And to create these three parts, we're going to build them separately and then combine them, assemble them to create the one tool that you can see in front of you. On the fourth slide, you will see that you have all of the dimensions for the spanner that I will refer to. So let's start with the handle. The handle is made of a rectangle that is 100mm by 10mm, and every single item, all three parts, will be created and they will be 4mm thick, so they are nice and smooth and they are all the same level. Essentially, when you've drawn this tool, the next thing that you could do is export it as a file that you could send to a 3D printer. So hopefully we're starting to understand how we can take a 3D model and create something that we can then print and use in a real working environment. So let's get started. We're going to start by drawing the handle, and as you can see, we're going to draw a block that is 100 by 10 by 4mm tall. So to do that, if you're not already, I'm just going to go back a little bit for you here. You need to be in TinkerCAD. You need to, in your dashboard, create a new design by clicking here. Or if you're still in your test design, that's absolutely fine. You can click on your test design, tinker this, or create new design. And as you can see here, this is a very strange looking work plane. Hit home view, and then at the top there, I'm going to rename this spanner, because that's what I'm drawing. So let's get started with that handle. We're going to pick up our box, and we're going to drop it in the center of our work plane. And we're going to click on these white toolbars, and I can drag it so that they are 100. This middle one will move the middle or center of the block. Or once I've clicked, I can click on here and make that 100 and enter. And I want the height to be 4. Click on the last side over here, and I want the width to be not 15, my apologies, 10. Picking up the block, I'm going to move it into the center of the page. That is the handle of our spanner. The next part I'm going to draw now is the ring, and our ring is going to be made up of a cylinder. I'm going to zoom in slightly, use my scroll bar, click on the cylinder. My shape's hidden there by the side, so I'm going to click and move it over. I would like both sides of this, so that the circle is even, and it is a circle, to be 25. You can do that by clicking and dragging to make it 25, or click on the number, hit 25, click on the other one, or you can hit tab. The program's clever enough to realise that, and hit enter. And then again, the height, I want that to be 4. I'm going to pick up my cylinder once more, because I would like to make a hole through this cylinder here. And to do that, I'm going to draw out the exact shape of the cylinder, and then we're going to learn how to align and combine. So let's do the exact same thing again. This time, the circle inside there is going to be 20 by 20, and the height is going to be 4mm again. Select the shape, and you can tell when you've selected a shape because it has a blue outline around it, and I want this to be a hole. Now, if I hold my Shift key on my keyboard, which is an arrow key and is under your Enter key, or if I highlight over both shapes at the same time, I can select them both. And the next thing that you want to do is I want to use these tools along the top, and I want to align those two shapes together. And then it's easier for me to actually see this from the top view. And let's Autofit. So I'm just working on the area that I've selected. Just do that again. I'm into Home View and Auto Fitted. I want to align the circle, and if you hover, you can see where it's going to align. I want to align this circle on the central point. And then again, I want to align that circle so that it merges them both in a central point. If you're not sure, just hover over the top and you'll see what shape are we trying to create, what shape would the outcome be based on these dots that are helping me to align. I'm just going to zoom out, and I'm using my right click on my mouse, zoom in again, rotate round, and that there is both shapes combined, or aligned, sorry, and now I need to group to combine them. And you'll now see that what it's done is it's created that perfect ring that will go on the end of our spanner. So now I have two components in my product. I keep rotating using my right click and moving the work plane round. If you're finding that tricky, remember you could just use this box at the top to rotate. I find it smoother to use the mouse. Okay, final part that we're going to draw now. The final part is the jaw. Just click back and let's have a little reminder of what the jaw is, because it's a little bit more complicated, but if you've created the ring, you should be able to create the jaw. There are just a few more dimensions that we need to remember here. So I'm going to start by creating a circle that is 30 by 30 and 4 millimeters tall, and then I'm going to bring in a polygon that is 15 by 15 when it overlaps the circle, and that should be again 4 millimeters tall. Okay, back to our TinkerCAD space. We're going to start with our cylinder. Just going to scroll down a little bit so you can see here, and I'm going to grab the polygon. It's quite far down. I'm going to click on my cylinder and I'm going to just adjust the size, 30, 30, and the height, 4 millimeters. Now, the polygon is slightly different. Although it intersects this shape at 15 millimeters, I actually need it to be 30 tall, or in length, 15 wide, its width that it intersects the shape, and then the height I want to be 4 millimeters. And again, this is going to be a hole. This is cut out of my original shape. Just notice there I moved at the same time and adjusted the height. Just make that 4 again. And click off the shape before I try and move the shape into its space. Now, I've put the two shapes roughly together, but again, looking from a top view, and then I'm going to highlight over those two shapes, zoom. I'm now going to align them. Line button is up here. They're very, very close to being aligned, so align them on the center, and you can see there, I can also align them like this, which is not correct, or along these sides here. Highlight them again, click align, take your time, we're aligning here, and I already had this lined up in a way that I liked. So if something like this happens to you, Control and Z, and it will take you back to your original shape. I'm just going to stretch that slightly so my length is slightly taller and these two edges touch on the side. Always check that your alignment works, and then I'm going to drag over the top and I'm going to group those two shapes. Now, the last thing for us to do, I'm going to pick up, and you can see you need to be quite gentle when you're taking these images and moving them, and I'm going to place the ring and the jaw onto the end of my spanner and its handle, and then I'm just going to Autofit, select the whole of the selection on the screen, Autofit, and I'd like it to be nice and straight, that's it. And I'm going to pick up the ring and the handle at the same time, and I'm going to try and align those together. Remember, test where you're aligning. Same this side, pick up the handle and the jaw and align, and I'm just going to make sure that they are aligned on the centre. Select all of them together and I make sure they are aligned on the centre. Now, one final thing to do would be to group all of those shapes together. And there you have it. That is now how you would draw, and I just want to rotate that round, so I'm just going to use my right click, the spanner, and how you could create a file that would go to the 3D printer. Just give some of you a little bit of an extension task here. You do have text and numbers, so if you would like to then add text onto the top of your spanner using the same idea, remember in your dimensions, so if I make that 8, and let's make it, I don't know, 40, and the height, maybe 1, and I think the colour here is going to be pretty crucial. You can start to add in some key text or tools that you would like to use so that you could write your name across the top of the toolbar, okay, so that your spanner has your name across it. To do that, just use the drop down here to find where your actual text is. So, I don't know, spanner test, I'll just call it spanner. Okay, I'm going to pick this up and make it 5, so it's just 1mm taller, but it goes through the entire body, and move it over so my text appears on the top. For me to see whether it's aligned nicely, I've made this 8 and the spanner is 10 in height, so the height of each letter I want it to be 8 and the spanner is actually 10. If I now select all of that together and again align and put that in the centre, you can see that that's really nicely aligned on the centre of my spanner. Again, let's select it one more time. It's aligned centrally between these two bars, but I can also align it in the centre that way too. And there you have it. Perfect. Have a go at drawing that wrench. Good luck.